All right, we're going to begin Access 4. I'm just going to demonstrate the end of Module 2, the second end of Module project. I've already downloaded this Cardiac Rehab Associates database, and I've saved it. And the very first instruction is to use the report tool and to create a report using the insurance company's table. Remember, when you're creating a report, you have to be clicked on the right table over here for it to create that proper report. They're going to have us use the plain old report tool for this first one. But something I want to note, when you use the report tool, it adds some things automatically. One of the things it does is it adds this little button down here, this little thing here. This is going to be your content control, your record count contact control. So you can see right there, it says record count. And they add these content controls here and there because it's supposed to be useful. You know, it counts the number of records. One thing that annoys me is it always cuts it off, and they don't tell you to in this one. But like if you were doing this in real life, you would always want to resize that content control because they're never big enough, and I don't know why. The property sheet may or may not come up, but you can see this control source, this box, has a count function in it. It kind of looks like an Excel count function. Now we don't need this. I'm going to close this property sheet. But anyway, so here's what we have. We get this nice little report. It's one page, and it's however it felt like making it. We have no control whatsoever. If we look at it in print preview, you can see what it looks like. It's just a normal portrait page. All right, so in this one, they just basically say do that and then save it. And so I'm going to save this and call it insurance companies list. All right, and then we'll close that one out. The next thing they're going to have is they're going to have us use the report wizard. Now, I like the wizard better because when you use the report wizard, you can from the beginning explain what like page dimensions that you want. You can choose what fields you want. It doesn't use all of them. So we're going to use the report wizard. And this one they're doing kind of fancy here. They're going to actually have you use things from two different tables. So first, from the clients table, I'm going to pull in the client ID, first name and last name. But then I'm going to switch to the health programs table, and we're going to pull in the program name. So I've got all of these in here now. In the instructions, they basically say that we're going to view these by health programs. So instead of the client and then their program, it's going to tell us the health program. And then no grouping levels should be set additional to that. So it's grouped by program name, but it's not, grouped anywhere else. And that's done automatically because they came from two tables. You have to know like which table is going to be the one that controls the game. All right, so we click next. They're going to have us sort it first by last name, put like all the Smiths together and then first name. So Amy's before Bob. And then they specifically instruct you to put it in stepped and landscape and adjust the field width. So all the fields, that's going to be default. Finally, we get to this one and the title, and I kind of like because they have you name things on these. I can't remember exactly what they told us to save this one as. Program rosters. Okay. So we'll preview this report and take a look at it. What I find funny is a lot of times when you use the report wizard, you would think that it would fit better, but look what it did. And there's no reason to fix it. I mean, like if we were doing it again in real life, we would clearly make this program name field be shorter and scoot everything over. They don't have us to do that in these instructions, and Sam doesn't count it wrong, so we won't. But just always know it's kind of a good idea to print preview because you would have caught that there's this just dumb little bar over here that doesn't count. Okay, I'm going to close out that print preview, and we're going to get out of this one. Next up, we're going to open the client scores report. So there's report down here, and there's a query up here. So make sure that you're doing the reports. Pay attention to the objects over here in the navigation pane. So we're in the report objects. I'm going to open this in layout view. So in order to open something in layout view, just simply right click it and you can go straight into layout view. So they have us to first open in layout view. What you're going to notice is that we have the date of birth box that doesn't fit the date of births. So they tell us to resize that to kind of match the label. If you notice, the date of birth label goes over to here, but this one doesn't. What's nice about layout view is when you change it, it changes every single record and you can see it all happening at the same Okay, so I've got that on there. Then they're going to have us to move this strength or this date of birth control between first name and strength score. I mean, because it makes more sense to put it in this big gap over here. So you've got to grab a hold of both the label and this part as well. So I'm going to click and hold down control. And now I have a hold of both. And then I'll point to it with my arrow and just drag over here. And it won't look like it's dragging, but when you let go, it will put it in there. And that's always the weird thing I think about Access. It doesn't like show you that it's moving. It's kind of because in layout view, it won't let you move things very far. It only lets them go into certain spots. And there's a spot there, so it puts them between those two columns. All right, the last thing we're going to do on this one is to set what's called conditional formatting. We're going to do it to the strength score. So we're right here on this one. Notice that you can right click, and you can see there are some in here this way. They're going to have us to do it actually through our conditional formatting, which is under your report layout tools under the format tab. So you kind of got to poke around. There's a lot of tabs when you're on report layout. Same with the forms. So I'm going to click up here on format and go to conditional formatting. Again, be sure you're checked on the numbers. Click on the numbers. Conditional formatting. And it says, hey, we're doing the strength score. We're going to set what's called a rule. So the rule here is basically if it's less than 3, we're going to make it red and in bold. So field value is less than, and then we type in 3. You come over here and click on red, and then click on bold. And when you hit OK, it should automatically apply once you hit OK again to all of these. Now, if for some reason you messed up on a conditional formatting rule, you can go back into conditional formatting, click the rule and edit it. Don't make another new one because then you're going to have 2 in here and the program's going to mark it wrong. So you would have to go to edit rule if you needed to fix it. Or you could completely delete the rule and make it again. All right, so mine's already good. I don't have to do anything else to it. On this one, it says just preview and save, so we're good to go. This one was already partially created for us. Okay, now we're getting into the client listing one, and that's also a report that's already made for us. We don't have to make a new one. It says to open in layout view. So once again, right click and go to layout view. In this one, they're just going to have us make some changes, and I'm going to actually zoom out a little bit here so I can see, which I don't see my little button to do that, but oops, okay, or not. Anyway, I guess I won't zoom out, so change mine on that. We're going to change it to portrait. So go to your page setup and switch it from landscape to portrait. Basically, if you want to be able to tell the difference, you almost have to switch to print preview. And they don't tell us to do that in here, so we'll just leave it alone for now. They are going to have us to make changes to this area. Now, you can't tell really from here. Let me go to design so you can see from a different view. When you're in design view, you can tell what these things are called. Like this is the report header, page header, detail. So they refer to that on this lesson like you already know that, and you probably don't. So the report header is that part that says client listing. That's this. So they tell you to go in here and to change the font color. You just click on the box. You don't have to like double click or highlight the letters or anything like that. And we're going to set the color to automatic, which is black. And then the font size to 18. Of course, this is just like in all the other Microsoft programs, so there's nothing complicated here. Then they're going to have us to edit this. You have to double click inside that box and then space bar to put that space in. And that's it for that. But now they're going to have us switch to that design view. So I'm just going to come here to design view. And now we're going to edit it in this view. And this is the weird looking view, but honestly, it does make sense. And I like it because you have a ruler so you can kind of see where things go a little bit better. In this example, they're going to have us to add a label. So if you go through all your little things here under design, they have all these controls, and a label is simply that. It's a control. So like here's a text box, here's a label. So that's like text that just sits there, but it doesn't hold anything special. You can see there's also like unbound objects and hyperlinks and all this stuff. Anyway, I'm going to click on label, and it says to set it right here at the 7-inch mark. I'm just going to click there, like about even with the other box there that says client ID. Just click one time, and then you're going to type in confidential. All right, so there you go. And then you have to kind of click off of it so that you can actually mess with it. So like mine's not really, I'm going to use my arrow key on my keyboard to scoot that up. I like to use the arrow keys, it's a little easier to manage. So it's supposed to be about 1 inch wide. You're just going to drag the end of it to the inch mark there. You could also go to your property sheet on these, and while I'm on this box, I can change the width. So like that's another option if you're having trouble. Okay, so we've got that confidential in there. Next thing, they already have the last name formatted a special way. It's like italics and black, okay? So we're going to use the format painter, and you should remember that it's actually on the home tab. It's on all of our Microsoft programs, right? We've got that. So I'm going to click off of this and click on it. But you're going to grab your format painter. Now, if you only click it one time, it only works one time, okay? But if you double click it, it like stays on. Then you can use it until you unclick it. Okay, so I like to double click it if I know I'm going to change a bunch of things all at once. And that just paints the format. It takes that italics and black and paints that format onto the others. All right, almost done here. The last couple things they have us to do are just more changes to the design. So when I go in here to design, if they were to have you to change the theme, you would go here. They're actually going to tell you to change the theme font. And here's also where you change the theme color. In this case, they have you change it to Georgia. And when you do that, now your fonts are going to be too big. And so like this one hangs off. So of course their next instruction is to resize this box. And they say they want about 2 inches at the right. So we just kind of drag it to that 2-inch marker. Again, you could go to that property sheet and position it specifically. So like you could position the top or the left edge. In this case, we'd want to position the right edge, which isn't easily accessible from this menu. But there you go. So now I've got that 2-inch marker in there, and that is pretty much it for this one. Let's go ahead and look at it just so you can see. By the way, notice when we're in this view, you can see where the like date is coming from. See, there's a formula, a function for now, which is very much like the today function in Excel right here in the report footer. That's why that shows up there. And this is a special code that puts in the page numbers. And you can see here are a bunch of things. Like if I wanted to put a logo down here in the footer, you know, I could come in here and take a picture and I could pop it into the header or footer if I had a little picture. I don't know if I really have anything I can use here. So I could put pictures of my kids. But let's say I wanted to put this coffee cup in here. You know, there it is. And I can drag it down here. And now I've got a little coffee cup in my footer, right? So if I go to my print preview, and we look at this, and now I can zoom out so we can see it more. Now we got a coffee cup down here. So you can do some additional things there from that menu. And I do like the design view because you do have the control to do that sort of thing. These are specifically kind of for your header footer. These page number, logo titles, date and times, all of those types of things. If you didn't include all the fields from your document, you could add existing fields. So if there were other fields that I wanted to add in here that were bound to that table, I could. You know, like this was based on the client listing query, so it didn't have all the fields. But if I needed another field, this add existing fields is how you could add those in there. All right, and that's just kind of a quick run through of these. And again, these same tools exist basically in the form as well. So like, you know, all these design things that I talked about, they also exist when you're in that design view for your form. See, it's all identical. It's exact same stuff all the way around. Okay, and I hope that this was pretty clear to introduce you to Access 4.